Sean. I'm delighted you're joining us for today's ESPC Community Webinar. Today I'm joined by Mike Carlo, MVP, who will cover Agentic apps on Microsoft Fabric. Build stunning interactive experiences in minutes. We love hearing what you guys have to say, so remember, join conversation about today's webinar and more on X. Our handle is @ESPC_community and our hashtag is #ESPC26. Tweet us, tag us, and tell us what you learned. Don't forget to check out our Learning Hub, which updates today's blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. You can access a View Learning Hub by visiting espc.tech and clicking the Learning Hub tab at the top of the page. Don't forget to join us for our next webinar, SQL in the Fabric Era. Translate existing skills into the modern data platform with Kevin Pereira, and taking place today, Thursday, July 16th at 5:30 p.m. CEST. To register for this webinar, please visit www.espc.tech/Learning Hub Content Week's Microsoft Fabric Week. Time's ticking. Your future network is waiting. Don't miss the conversations, insights, and opportunities everyone will be talking about after the event ends. Secure your place today and be in the room where it happens. Save €300 with code FABRICWEEK when you book your ticket. Before you switch on your out of office, make one last smart move. Secure your place at FabCon and SQLCon Europe in Barcelona and take advantage of our early bird rates. Book by the 31st of July to lock in early bird pricing. Then use code FABRICWEEK to save an additional €300 on your ticket. Enjoy your summer knowing your place is reserved at Europe's leading Microsoft Data and AI conference. Win Lego from Acteries. Scan the QR code to enter today for your chance to win Lego from Microsoft Fabric Week sponsor Acteries. As always, if you have any questions at any stage, feel free to type it in the chat box and Mike will answer them during the session. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Center, where you'll be notified by email when it's available. And now I'm going to hand you over to today's presenter. Hello, Mike. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, and thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here today. In true typical Mike fashion, I love doing demos. So this is going to be a 0 slide deck show. We are going to directly move to my desktop. We're going to show you Rayfin and talk through and build a Rayfin project. So we're going to use agents, AI, and agentic experiences. I'm going to show you all the things I know how to do and how I build directly with agents, Rayfin, and what tools and solutions I'm using. I'll give you all the tips and tricks as we build here. So that being said, let's go on over to my desktop. I'll show you the quick marketing information from Microsoft around this new project called Rayfin, and then we'll dive directly into PowerBI.com. All right, make sure I've got my screen share going here. And we'll hit share again. All right. Looks like it's coming up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thumbs up. Yeah.
Thumbs up. We got confirmation that we're there. Let me hide this thing at the bottom here. Okay, so this is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about apps in Fabric. There's a code name for this. It's been called Rayfin. Microsoft is using this Rayfin language. This is not Power BI reporting. This is using agents to build full website-based like apps inside and deploying them directly to Microsoft Fabric. So one of the things I really love here is you can build beautiful experiences with data, semantic models, and SQL servers. And so the experience you get here, you can build pretty much whatever your mind can create. You can use different frameworks, D3.js, Plotly, HTML. All this is useful and can be used directly inside these apps. Okay, so enough of the marketing materials. We're going to move right out of this, and we're going to go, instead of watching Microsoft's marketing documentation, let's go over directly to PowerBI.com, and we're going to step in and start building immediately with what we have for a Rayfin application. So let me switch browsers here. You'll see here I have logged into PowerBI.com. This is my tenant here. And inside my tenant, we are going to go to a workspace. So I'd recommend, if you're going to be building things, create a team workspace. I'm going to be going through our workspace here called Data App Test. Now, I've had a couple questions as I've been building things in the past. Michael, what level of Fabric SKU do you need to run this? How would I get started? It doesn't matter what SKU you're on. As long as you're inside Fabric, any F SKU that you have available, F2 and up, this will work on all of them. I will give you some optimization techniques. If you're on the lower end of the F SKUs, you will need to be careful about your usage, but we can use the F2 SKU to do building apps. Okay, So that being said, the first thing that we're going to go look for is we're going to go click on the new data item up here in the upper left-hand corner. That's how we're going to start the app. We're actually going to start building the app directly inside Fabric. I'll click on new item. From new item, I'll search for the word app. And we will see here, there's going to be this new thing called app, and it's in preview. Okay, one thing I will note here, this is currently in preview, and you need to turn this on in your admin settings. So if you're admin or if you're not an admin, you need to go over to powerbi.com admin settings, and you'll need to turn on the app preview, making apps in Fabric. So if your user isn't a part of that user group that's attached to that, or you don't have a permissions for this, this will not show up in your tenant. So just be aware, if you don't see this, it's likely an admin setting that needs to be turned on. So I'm going to click on that app again. We'll do that again. I'll click on app. It's going to ask me for the name of the app. No problem. We'll just do demo. What day is today? Today is the 16th. So we'll do demo 16. That's what we'll use for today. Okay. I'll leave it in my location, the workspace, and I'll click create. So this is going to set up basically the framework of the app. It's going to give me a little bit of a to-do here. It's going to ask me, like, how do you want to get started? There are a couple templates that they want you to get started with here. You can build a very basic to-do app. This is on our YouTube channel. Like I've shown you going through this one. This one links a SQL database directly to an application, and you can basically sign in, click on items, and those items are directly modified and updated inside the SQL database. There's another one here for a data app. This is an app that you connect to a semantic model. So the semantic model is the back end here. The semantic model will then resolve data to you. Now, it's a little bit interesting on how to build the data apps, just because when you're building locally on your computer, the data app doesn't show you the data. You actually have to physically publish the app for it to show data. I think they're working on some resolutions to make that better as well in the future. So for this demo, we're just going to start with the to-do app. Let's just get it working, and then maybe we'll come back and either build a blank app or we'll build a data app on top of this. So I'm going to click on the middle item here called to-do. And what this is going to do, it's going to deploy some various pieces for us. So the first thing that the app will do is it's going to start showing you some details of the app. When you actually publish the application, there'll be a physical URL that you can navigate to for this application. You can use it inside of Fabric or outside of Fabric. However, it does require some authentication, and we'll show you what that looks like. Next, we have getting started with the application. Now, this getting started area, this is to help you go to VS Code or Claude Code or some kind of coding agent that you have to help you get started building the app. So there's a couple prerequisites that you have to have currently in order to use agents and AI to help you build your applications. The first thing is you need some sort of code editor on your computer. My choice of program is VS Code. It's free, easy to use, and you can download it from the Microsoft Marketplace. Also, you need to have some sort of license, either a free one from GitHub Copilot or trial, or actually pay for some sort of agent or agentic experience. Claude Code is another one that I use a lot. So we can use those agents to help us build these applications. The first thing here is the copy prompt in the upper right-hand corner. If you copy this prompt, let me just pull up here a little bit of text. I'll click copy, and then let me go over here to VS Code. Let's just show you what this looks like. If I paste that in here, this is the experience of that prompt. It's pre-putting this in here, and basically they're asking you to directly hand this to your AI agent, and the agent will know how to run these various steps. I kind of like to have a little bit more control, so I don't technically use this prompt. And also, I've gotten a couple, from my experience, sometimes it's worked really well, other times it hasn't worked really well, and it kind of depends on what kind of large language model you're using. Higher end models seem to do a better job understanding the statement. Lower end models, like a Sonnet or Haiku on the lower end of scales, they don't seem to do as well. So I like to pick kind of a higher end reasoning model to build this, and I also like doing it myself. So this is what's happening here on the that prompt. We're actually not going to use that. Okay. First things first, as a best practice, whenever you're building things inside VS Code and with agents, my best practice here is make sure that you have some sort of Git integration or a tracking ability to see when files are changing. In order to do that, I use on my computer. Let's see if I can minimize this here. Let's go back to my powerbi.com. Get it full screen. Let me pull this over here. On my computer, I have a folder for today. So whenever I'm building things, whether it's on my computer or I'm building a brand new project, I'm typically building a folder, and then I'm dragging that folder directly into VS Code. And when I do this, it's going to say, I understand what's inside that folder structure. Once you go over to this little icon here for Git on the left-hand side here, when I click on this, it will hopefully, where's my little file here? I want to initialize the Git. Oh, they've changed things around here for me a little bit. Let's go to, let me make sure I trust this folder. Maybe that's changing here a little bit. Okay, there we go. That's what I want to. I had to trust my folder first. So at the bottom here on my VS Code, there was a little trust this folder. I had to click that first, and then it trusts this folder moving forward. The button I'm looking to press here is initialize the repository. I'm not publishing to github.com. I'm not doing anything special here. All this is doing is allowing me to track all the file changes that I'm doing in this folder. And you'll see here in a moment why we care about this, because the AI agent is going to build a lot of files all at once. And sometimes you might build something that it's not quite right. So you want to revert and go back. So we use this one to track all the changes in our files. Let me zoom in here a bit so it's a little bit larger. Click initialize repository. Okay. Immediately, it will ask you for committing changes. And down here, as we make new files or modify them, they'll show up here. Clicking on the Explorer area, I'll go back to my folders, and we can see here, this is the name of the folder we just dragged into VS Code. Okay. VS Code is now set up. We're ready to run some commands. Going back over to the powerbi.com portal, we now have this first command here. Open up a terminal, and we're going to do that inside VS Code. I'll show you how to do that. And then we're just going to start running one command at a time here. First, set up the project, and then we're going to edit the application directly here. Okay. Moving back over to VS Code. In order to get a terminal command window, you can do this directly in VS Code by using a shortcut key, the control button and the tilde key. So control tilde brings up this terminal window. And here I'm using a terminal, and I can then copy that first command that Microsoft gives us here on the website. So I'm going to copy this command here for npm create. Copy that directly. We'll move over to VS Code. And here we go. I'll paste that in right here. And we'll make sure npm create, it'll ask for this information, and it's going to ask me to install some things. So this is where we're going to start. I'm going to run this. And so as it starts thinking here, it's going to install any of the packages around Rayfin. So to understand what this command is doing, the first part here is using the npm package manager. It's asking you to install the latest version of Rayfin, give it the name of the project as demo 16, and it's using the template of the to-do app that we just talked about. So as we watch it build here, it's going to run npx. It's going to create this folder structure, and it will then download all the assets or items that we need in this to-do app, this template. So we'll give it a moment here. And while I'm doing that, I'm checking out here on the chat. Hello from Sweden. I see some people from Finland. Welcome. Glad you're here. Hello from Belgium. Curacao, Wales. Awesome. Glad to have you all here. Thank you. Hello from Germany, Jeffrey. Glad to have you on here. All right. While we're greeting people, Italy's there as well. Hello. All right. So thank you for saying where you are. I do want to be very clear here. If you have any questions about what I'm doing, need me to slow down, if I'm not explaining the clicks that I'm doing to get through the session, please ask the questions. I am able to watch that while we're doing this. So ask questions as we go here, as you unpack what's happening. Okay. The app has installed. We get our nice little logo. Let's create your first project. The project name is Demo 16. You'll see up here, the name of the item in the workspace is Demo 16. That's the same folder that's created inside this Rayfin folder that I'm building in. All right, it's loading the template files. Okay. It's making the template files, it's creating a customized template, installing some dependencies, and now it's running the Rayfin items. So as I open this up here, you'll notice here on the right-hand side, I'm getting a whole bunch of additional information here. So we have these node modules. I have Rayfin appearing. There's some source code. We're getting an agents file. Boom. Okay. The project has been successfully completed. Now, remember I said earlier why we wanted to turn on file tracking? There's actually a number of things here that's quite large. These get ignore should be ignoring our node modules. Let's see if it's actually doing that. Just looking through here. Yeah, okay. Dependencies, but it's not ignoring node modules. Okay, we'll see what it's doing. If I go over here to the right-hand side, they're saying there's a gajillion changes. All of these files are being added here. These .bin node modules, this is the one that we actually want to ignore here. I don't know why it's not automatically ignoring that. So let me go back up here to this main page. The nice thing about agents here is I can actually tell my agent to help me out with some things. So to open up my agent in VS Code, I can hit Control, Shift, and the letter I, which will bring open my agent here. So I have an agent here on the right-hand side, and I'm going to actually tell my agent, hey, look, I don't really want all these node modules tracked inside my folder area here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add node modules here to my get ignore. Please, actually, I'll do it even better here. I'm going to even use my microphone. I'll click on the little microphone here and talk directly to VS Code. Please add the node underscored modules folder to the get ignore. Okay, so it actually typed out exactly the words here, node underscored modules. So let me just do that. There we go. All right, we'll let that figure itself out. It'll then figure out how to render this for us inside this model. Okay. Next steps. Now that it's organizing all of our files for us, we want to do this next step here. Now, this is actually, we're going to change directory into the demo 16 folder, and then we're going to run the npm run development package, which will spin up a local version of this application for me to see it here on this computer. Okay, let's keep that. Maybe I should just initialize my repository here. Let me just say init, commit that change. All right, we'll see if it actually fixes things. Okay. Now I can check my files more appropriately. In my terminal now, we will now follow the next step here. I believe this next step as well, this changing directory and running the development environment, it's the same instructions you would have gotten on the website. It's telling you right here, change directory to where your project is, run this next command line. Okay, so here we'll go cd demo 16, run. So that'll change my file directory inside there, and then we'll go npm run dev right here. So this is going to now build our application. It will then run the build scripts. It'll compile some files. And then once it compiles these files, it'll actually start running a local host, a demo of that application on my VS Code. So we'll just give it a moment here while it thinks and chews on this for a bit. All right, we'll check out things there in the chat. I don't think we have any other questions coming in. All right, great. All right, notice what it's doing now. So we'll walk through what it's doing here. So now, oh boy, it's doing a lot of things. All right, first thing it's doing, I said run the development environment. It's looking for the project. It finds the root project. It's looking for the workspace. It's doing a redeployment detected. It's targeting this location. So this is actually the Fabric information. So some of the details here, it already has me, it's checking out my workload endpoint. It's finding where the Fabric app lives. It's looking for those items. Deploying database configuration. Found the Rayfin project. Okay. Reading the configuration. All this is happening automatically. Boom, boom, boom. Demo 16 is now deployed to Fabric. Okay. So right here, this step is saying it's actually deployed our little mini application here to fabric.com. So it needs to have a SQL database. It needs to be able to talk to some sort of SQL entity. So it needs to create those items or those artifacts for us automatically inside Microsoft Fabric. Okay. If you want to actually open the app, here's the app location open in the Microsoft Fabric portal here. And if you want to build your front end, you're using this other command. Okay. The one that is really important for us here is to see this local host 5173. This is where the app is running locally on my computer right now. It's compiling and running it directly here.
There's just a question there, Mike, from Lucas.
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me actually answer this question quickly here. So while compiling, can you give a quick overview of the runtime environment on the app of Power BI.com? Will the npm package pull public third-party dependencies? Your understanding here is your understanding that this will end up as a container with a trench coat and a wig. What you see is what you get interface. So the fabric.com. So if I refresh my fabric.com page here, I believe the app is up and running. Okay. So the app runs here. You can think, Lucas, you can think of this as a static web app. This is just HTML that has been deployed to Fabric. There's not a lot of sandboxing on what other third-party APIs or JavaScript. It's actually compiling all of this down. So if I go into the Rayfin project here, there is under source. Where am I looking for here? Rayfin. There should be a build folder in here somewhere. I'm not seeing it right now, but there is a compiled folder. I will show you more about this, Lucas, when we go into compiling. There's another command that we run called npx rayfin up, which is where we push the file. It'll actually build files locally and then push them directly to the service. So when we do that, there's actually a build folder that appears. That build folder has HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So that's all we really get. That's the extent of the application today currently. And then Microsoft is doing some magic behind the scenes to make sure that the front end of the app is securely connecting to semantic models and SQL servers. The only two supported data sources that we have right now are semantic models, which was for rendering data or running queries against the data. And then the second one is the SQL server, because that's actually edit, read, write data directly there as well. All right, let's go back. We'll get there eventually. The npm run build will also build the files as well. Yeah, thank you very much for MD adding that as well. So on Fabric, we have this to-do app here, sign in with Microsoft. If I go back to VS Code again, we're going to click on localhost. You'll see that this is going to look almost identical. Now, a couple techniques or tips or tricks here around using VS Code locally. Notice here on this page, I have a local host running. Also notice it's asking me to sign in directly with Microsoft here. This is a browser window inside VS Code. I really like this because there's a couple features here. My agent here on the right-hand side, so everything here on the right-hand side is my agent. Inside this window, there is, let me zoom in here. There's a little button here. This button allows me to share this web page, this local host, with my agent. This allows it to run Playwright. This allows the agent to see the code that's on the page. And then also there's this other button here that allows me to select different objects on the page, which is also incredibly important, especially when you're trying to refine your design. So for example here, let's just say I want to have like a splash screen. Let's update this app slightly. And maybe I don't want the login to be here. I want to move the login to a header bar. So I can click this little icon, add element to chat. And then I'm actually going to be able to navigate around on the web page. If all the buttons, all the graphics here, I can actually select them on the page. And I just click the object. And down here in my agent, you'll notice it said, it gave me a div of where that I selected, and even gave me a screenshot and put it in the agent window. So I'll say, move this authentication to the header bar, to a header. Let's go to a header. And add a simple splash screen graphic that talks about using a to-do app. All right, so we're going to let this thing cook for a bit. I'm going to send that information directly over to the agent. And now what it's going to do is while it's working through that, it's actually going to log in, it's going to update the code. It's going to start changing the structure of the page for me and start building out the application here as well. Okay, just give me a warning here. So it's doing some looking at the code. Another thing, another technique that I'm finding here that's extremely useful, if you don't understand what the agent is doing, if you don't understand what's in the files or the source or the things that it's changing, it's really good practice. Ask the agent. The agent knows what it's been building. It can read the files and understand them for you. So if you have questions about what the application's building, use the agent to help educate yourself on what the app is doing and how it's building. All right. While this is building, I'm going to go back over to the website. I'm going to show you what happens when we log in. Okay. So the agent's making things over here. Back over at fabric.com, this is the app that we've clicked on. We can couple UI pieces here before we jump in. This is the main part of the app. The app is here. This is the application, the website. Okay. Over here in the upper right-hand corner, zoom in here. These are the interaction buttons that we have directly from fabric.com. You can open the app up directly in a new window. You can refresh this page if it doesn't look like it's refreshing correctly, or you can manage the app. And so that initial screen that we saw earlier was all the settings of the URL and how to get started. Those options were in the manage app area. And then sharing is just, you can share this or give a link to somebody else. So if I click on manage app here, that original page that we saw was automatically here. This is a custom URL that we now can go use. And this will open up on a website, a physical website, not in fabric.com. It's a physical URL that we can go use anywhere on the internet, but this requires me to log in. So if I click open here, it will physically navigate to this URL and ask me to authorize. I have to go authorize using my Carlos Solutions email address because this is how we built the app. This is the tenant that I'm in. So when I click sign in, it'll ask me to go through my authentication pattern. I authenticate, it will then bring up, yeah, it's giving me the trial thing. Okay, fine. It goes to Fabric. Basically, it logs me into Fabric directly, and then you get into the application, and it should push me directly into the application this way. Let's see if that actually went through, because I had that little warning about Fabric.
Mike, is another question in, if that's right?
Yeah, good question. MD, you're asking about, is there an ability for us to have a custom domain? At this time, there is not an ability for us to add a custom domain to this. It is whatever URL that you have that's here. I would imagine in the future, you'll be able to change this and reconfigure this one. If you're using Fabric or Azure static web apps, there is the ability to do that as well. For some reason, it's not letting me off in my way in here. Let me try it one more time here. This is a little warning screen that comes up and it doesn't show me what's going on. Okay, let me try it here back in the app. For some reason, it's this is the options of having a live demo here. So let me log in with Microsoft here. Sign in. It doesn't seem like it's authorizing correctly. Let me refresh my page real quick. I might need to do a full Rayfin push here in a second. Okay, I'm going to repush the app that I have locally running, but let me go back to the VS Code and show you what we built, and then we'll push our changes. Okay. So if I zoom out here a little bit, let me minimize some items here. Let's get rid of this. We'll get rid of our local host. So look at this. I now have a landing page. I have a to-do app header bar. I now have a daily focus and it has a little card here showing me a little progress expectation here. So this is all being built with like one line of prompt. Make a landing page. Do this. The reason why I think this is so powerful is with one prompt, I get a pretty beautiful looking homepage. And as soon as I share this with my agent, and start clicking around objects on the page, if I want to change the text, if I want to update something, if I want to add an infographic, I can actually explain directly to the agent what I want on this page here by using my cursor, which is pretty awesome. All right, let's try and sign in with Microsoft again here. We'll see if this lets me sign in. Okay, yeah, go away. Just sign me in. Okay, so now the app's working. So this is actually building the correct item here. Here is my to-do app. So the intent here is all these experiences, whether it's a Power BI, SQL servers, or the semantic models, those two experiences require the context of some signed in user. Me has to authenticate to Fabric. Fabric is then giving the application the information it needs to be able to sign in. So no one can access this data or this information because it's behind a security wall. Here is build with Rayfin. So that'll be my first item. I will add this item to my list, and then we can see build with Rayfin is here. Okay, very simple example. So now that this is done, let's say the app is working. We've made a slight modification to the home page. If I sign out here, it will go back to my home page like we had before previously. This is looking decent for getting started. So I'll bring up my command terminal window here at the bottom. And then instead of running, let me scroll down here at the bottom of this. Well, it's actually still running my local app. Let me start a new terminal. I'm going to build a new terminal window here at the bottom. We click this little plus sign. I'll click the plus. It's going to add me a brand new terminal window. And so here I will be in the Rayfin application. So I'm in desktop Rayfin. So let me just go cd demo 16. I want to get into that directory that we're building in. And then I'm going to do npx Rayfin up. So this is the command to ask it to capture all the build assets and push this back to PowerBI.com. Because we notice right now, PowerBI.com has a different front-end user interface than I have. So let's hit enter on this. Checking my time here. Okay, doing good. And there we go. Okay, it's building an application. It's compacting it. Okay, here, notice, remember where we were looking earlier for that distribution folder? I believe someone was asking about how does it build, what is it building when it does this? This distribution folder is showing up here. Okay, that is now visible for me inside VS Code. You can see here, there is now officially a distribution folder. This distribution folder is what is being published to PowerBI.com. So the only things that are going to PowerBI.com is an HTML file, CSS file for styling, and then a JavaScript file that's being compressed. And that's where all the API calls, all the secret sauce between the app and the backend, that's what's happening there as well. Okay, so all of this is the only items that are going to PowerBI.com currently. Okay, I see a couple questions coming through here. So let me just look through some of the questions here.
Yeah, do you want to go
Yes.
through them two now, or do you want to?
Yeah, I'll go through a couple of these questions to kind of answer what's going on here. First one is, what is the identity role of the app using? I can imagine it would be a privacy concern if the app gets access to a semantic model using some code and an AI agent grabbed from the internet. Yes, I would totally agree with that. This is one of the areas that is why Microsoft is letting you build Rayfin apps. Security is quite complex. And the agent or the app registration, the hook between this front end and the back end, which is Fabric, there needs to be a secure link between the two. When you build these projects, Microsoft is providing a middle block, a black box of security for you. So that black box understands this website is talking only to the SQL server, only talking to that semantic model that you give it access to. So while you build the project, the Rayfin skills, right? So if you go over here to agents, and there's a Rayfin skill here, this skill is all the information around how the project is set up, all the NPM packages that are being used, and it's giving you the agent experience around how to build these things securely. So there's not a new app registration that's being built. Microsoft is negotiating and handling that for you automatically. Great question on that one. I hope that answers your question.
I don't know if you saw Piyush's. It's how can agent query the semantic model considering no schema library if we have.
You can grab the. Oh, I'm going to that was the first question. I'm going back to Lucas now. Is that the same question you're asking?
The Piyush, how can agent query the semantic model considering no schema library?
Gotcha. Okay, sorry, I didn't ask that question. That one is over here. So another thing here too. So let's talk about that one. This application, the agent is allowed to use the Microsoft Power BI MCP modeling server. So let me go over here as well. When we talk about data inside semantic models, let me Control-Shift-I. Over here is my VS Code agent. So how do we give this agent visibility to maybe an existing semantic model that I want to connect to and get data? That's a great question. The best way I have found to do this is under the settings. So this is configuring your tools directly here inside your VS Code. When I click on this, there are a number of MCP servers I have installed on my computer. The one that I like to use with talking to semantic models is this one, the Power BI Modeling MCP server. This allows the agent to go read the semantic model, get the details from the semantic model, and write DAX against the semantic model. I believe there's additional documentation in the agent file inside this Rayfin project that also talks about how to go get data from a semantic model and can query it and run data against it as well. So for me, I have found this technique to work very well. To get that MCP modeling server, you go over to here on the left-hand side. This is the Microsoft Marketplace for extensions. Just search Power BI Semantic Modeling Server. So Power BI MCP Modeling Server. This is directly found right off of the Microsoft Store. It's written by Microsoft, and that's what I use to go interrogate what's inside the semantic model. Thank you for that question. I'm going to move on to the next one here. Is there a similar mechanism to a Spark environment for the app so we can get an automated CI/CD workflows without juggling connection strings? Great question. I believe the apps do not integrate directly with variable libraries right now. Everything is very sequential. You're kind of working through single app environments. I'm building here, I'm building a single app. I believe there's a CI/CD story coming, but right now there's not a lot of documentation or work around continuous integration, continuous development with Rayfin apps. To your point, we probably need to be able thinking about two versions of this app. The simple version and then the more complex version with variables, switching out strings, switching out SQL servers. I believe that's on eventually we'll get here. I have to imagine that's going to be part of the roadmap. I haven't heard directly if that is or is not. Great question on that one. Next question, is it possible to read data from an existing lakehouse or warehouse? Also, can you use the Fabric REST APIs? No. So MD, great question. When we use this app is only using SQL Server, Fabric SQL, and Power BI semantic models. Those are the only two items we can use. We cannot query a lakehouse. We cannot query a warehouse. Those are not currently supported. I would imagine over time, we will get that functionality eventually, but today the app is currently in preview and they've only gone to preview with just two data sources. Also, notice you're asking about the Fabric REST API, right? I want this app to go trigger a pipeline. I want this app to go run a Fabric user-defined function. That's also not supported. And it's today currently, if you go back to, I don't know why this one's up. Let's go find my VS Code again. If we go over here to the left-hand side, this distribution folder, because this distribution folder is only HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, any API calls you need to make that would be to the internet or to a service, all of that secrets and information would need to live in the JavaScript file. There is no equivalent app environment parameters that you would normally use if you were like building a Fabric or an Azure static web app. So to keep secrets away from the application side, you typically put those in environment variables. Those do not exist. We don't have any concept of an environment variable. So anything where you're trying to secure an API with an API call or a token or a secret, all of that is not supported at this time. However, what I will say though is just yesterday, an announcement was made on the Microsoft blog talking about Fabric user-defined functions now being able to use Key Vault and securely store secrets. So if I put two and two together, it seems like some improvements are coming from Fabric user-defined functions. And at the same time, we're getting improvements on Rayfin. So I have to think those two concepts will eventually come together. But right now, those do not connect. Great question, MD. I'll keep moving on here. Is it possible to build a custom dashboard with an app? Yes, we will do that next. Would a semantic model or data lake also need to be shared with users who are needing to authenticate? I'm not quite sure about the semantic models. I'm going to have to confirm. I know for semantic models, I think the answer is yes. I also think it's context. You need to be at some level of permissions at the workspace. When you saw me log into the application in Fabric, it was actually trying to authenticate me. So if I don't have access to the Rayfin app or the workspace where this is being published, it's likely going to have issues authenticating and get access to that item. I know my permissions, me, are entered here. That's the information that we're passing down to the SQL server. That's letting me know that I'm an authenticated user and there's data related to me. Okay, great questions. Let's see the next one here. If I intend to share the Rayfin app with external users, these users must at least have a guest account and are tenant. No other user management is possible via Microsoft sign-in. That is correct. Today, all management of signing into the application must flow through the Microsoft Fabric identity management. If I sign out again, that little window that popped up. So this is the landing page, right? This is an unauthenticated page, but I can't make a call to SQL Server. I can't make a call to a semantic model without first authenticating. So I had to first sign in with Microsoft, and that sign-in activity has to go through the Microsoft sign-in screen. So if I went to the actual website that we had earlier, this one here, let me delete this again. Let me go directly to the website. Here's my new website with the auth. This is not in Fabric. This is just a website. When I click sign in with Fabric here, this window is popping up and it's physically requiring me to authenticate. This step is required for all external users of your application. It'll need to sign them in. It'll need to go to the workspace. It'll need to find that little window that is able to authenticate who I am. So there is that authentication path is tied to the workspace and the user. Once I'm in, I can now see the application. Awesome. Okay, I think we've answered all the questions. Let's keep going. All right, we can kind of see how the app is built. Let's go into the SQL database side of things. I want to show you some techniques here that are going to help optimize your SQL database side as well. So we're going to go over here to the workspace called Data App Test. Our demo 16 is made right here. Notice we have the app itself. We have a SQL server, and we have a SQL Analytics endpoint that goes along for the ride here. All these three things are together in order to allow us to query and run the data. If I click on the SQL database itself, this is the SQL database. Now, word of caution, I have run myself out of compute units on an F2 before. This is really important, I think. When you go into the SQL server, you are going to want to adjust the settings of the SQL Server, especially if you're testing this out for the first time. Click on the settings icon, and you'll want to go over to the compute option here. Underneath compute, it will show you the different versions or the number of virtual cores that are used to run the SQL Server. By default, this SQL Server comes in with 32 virtual cores. This will run out your Fabric subscription very quickly. So my first thing I like to do is to click this and go all the way down. If I'm just testing something, I'm going to use 2 cores. If I'm interested in doing dev and test work, maybe I'll use 4 cores in a dev or test environment. But I find that 2 or 4 cores is much better and much more efficient on your Fabric usage and consumption. It might make the server go down for just a little bit. Note, there will be a temporary connection issue while it's transferring from 32 cores down to 2. But this is a way to save yourself some capacity while you're building and developing this. Hit save, and we'll let that chew. Okay. The next thing you can do is you can start prompting away. You can ask it to make a light and dark mode on the application, and now you can just start building what you want to see. So if I go over here to the to-do app on my VS Code here locally, I don't need either of these windows. I'll put those away. And now I can just start talking with my agent. Make this app have a light and dark mode. We'll let that run. And then what it will do is the agent will then think through our files. It'll come up with a plan, and then it will change the styling to have a light and dark mode both with this app. So, and then we can adjust that. I don't like this coloring. I don't like the style of the buttons. You can then continue adjusting that until the app gets styled the way you want. All right. This is chewing right now. We're going to let this go. I'm going to start another VS Code instance. Let's build another app. This was on a SQL database. Let's go build one on top of a semantic model. And that will probably take us almost to the top of the hour. All right, so I'm going to go back here. I'm going to create another VS Code instance. We're going to start a brand new one here. New window. I have a brand new VS Code. Let's zoom in a little bit here so it gets a little bit larger. Again, I'll grab my Rayfin folder. I'll bring it in here. So this will then link that folder directly into my files area. I can see that there's a folder here. No folder open yet. Come on. Open my folder. Desktop, Rayfin. Let's select the folder this way. Not sure why it's not letting me open anything yet. Open desktop and my Rayfin folder, select folder. There it goes. Still not doing it. Hold on, let me close out of this VS Code. Something's not right there. Let's do Visual Studio Code. I should be able to drag my folder directly in. Come on, VS Code. Figure it out. Not sure why it's not giving me any folders there. Okay, well, we're just gonna keep barreling on here. We're gonna go build another app. So let's go back over to Fabric. We'll build our second app now. Go back up here. We'll go back into the workspaces again. We're gonna click a new item. We're gonna again click on our app again. So we'll do, this will be demo 17. Click create on this one. And this time when we pick our template, we're going to use this data app one. So we're going to use this one over here on this side. Connect to your Fabric data, build a rich visualization. So let's click on this one. It will then deploy the app again. We'll have the same commands. Again, I'll just use this setup command yet again. I'm going to copy this down. We'll go back over to VS Code. Why are you being so silly? Open folder. Desktop, Rayfin, select my folder.
Somebody just browse in the folder, not select the folder, then select folder.
All right, let me try and browse into the folder. So desktop, Rayfin, select that folder. I don't know why it's not. Usually this works. So I'm going to just wing it. We're going to see. I'm going to bring up my terminal command here, and we'll just going to see if we can make terminal force it. Let's go CD. Let's copy this here. Right click, copy as path. Okay. We're just going to tell the terminal to do what we want. So I'm just going to change directory right to where I want this to go. I don't know why my VS Code's being angry at me right now. So let's run that, and we're going to use that command directly from powerbi.com. We'll go over here, npm create, copy that, bring it back over to my terminal, drop it in here, npm create, Rayfin latest, demo 17. So I'll run that. Okay, we've created the fur port, downloading a bunch of things, template to customize. Okay, so here you'll notice we're installing a number of different things. Okay, this is one that's really interesting here. Notice here in this one, it's creating 77 files. Look at the different skills we have. App design, app validation, DAX authoring, Fabric skill CLI, Playwright CLI. This is a whole library of different skills. So that template that I'm using is actually going to give me additional skills that I'm going to give to my agent in a different area. So it's doing a lot of copying. It's now installing all the dependencies with npm. All right, we'll let that keep cooking there. All right, we're going back to our app over here. So this was the one that we were working on earlier where we have a light mode and dark mode. So now I have a button to go to dark mode. And now the app changes all the way over to dark mode. So now I can have that part of my application. All right, let's get rid of this VS Code over here on this side. So I'm going to go back to my terminal here. We'll just do a little npx, Rayfin up. Rayfin up. We'll let it recompile the files. It will then push this back to powerbi.com. And then I'm going to close this project out entirely because I think maybe this is messing with my other VS Code environment. There we go. Published. Building environments, compiling files. All the builds are a success. There we go. It's published. All right. With that being said, I'm going to close out of this altogether. Okay. Demo 17, this is the semantic model version. Okay, so let's see if I can now close this out of my terminal. Let's see if I can now, if it'll let me grab this folder. Okay, this is looking much more appropriate. Oh, okay, this is what we expected. Great. Now I have a folder. Awesome. CD demo 17. We'll go into the folder of where we are. And then here we have the initial page. Let me cancel this browser because we don't need that. All right, great. We have demo 17 now running. This is the files and agent skills here for this new model. Let's do a npx rayfin up. Let me just double check that's what I want. I think that's what we want to do on this one. Sorry, checking the website right now. Yeah, okay. So I think it did the initial build of this one. We'll let it push this code directly up to powerbi.com. All right, while that's thinking there, let's start a new bash command. And while we're here running, we're going to run npm run dev. And you're going to see here the difference between, could not read package. Oh, that would be, I was in the wrong directory. My apologies. CD demo 17, there is no package there that does that. Let's run npm run dev again. There we go. Sorry, that was a, can't find the file because I'm in the wrong folder. All right, there we go. Files are good to go. We now have our local host running again. So now when I click this local host, it will then build this. Now, notice this here. So you'll see this here. This cannot be opened outside Fabric. Opening apps connected to semantic models are not available outside the Fabric portal at this time. So there is no ability for me to connect to a semantic model and have this render here. So that's why I did earlier on this model, the npx rayfin up, because I actually need to go back over to Fabric and show you how this semantic model connected report is working. So let me refresh this page. Connecting to Fabric. Okay, so here is the actual page. This is a blank app template built with semantic model skills. You can visualize your data. Okay, so now we can start building experiences around this. This is already kind of the template that we have, but we need to go find some semantic model data that we can go use. So if I go into my data app test, I have some social data here in a semantic model. Let's connect to this one. So what we're going to do is I'm going to click on this data set. I'm actually going to physically copy the URL up the top here, copy this URL, go back over to my agent again. So I'm in this project. Again, we're working inside that demo. Notice that we can't see the app, so I can close that out. I'm just going to work exclusively on the files here. So here I'm going to ask the agent to build me some basic reporting on top of that analytics demo. Now, a technique I like to use, I need to see the data. I don't know what I'm talking about. So here is some general information as to what's going on. I have a platform, I have a dim view, I have some fact metrics, and I know for a fact this is a slowly changing dimension. So I actually want to describe a little bit to the agent what this model looks like, and we need to turn on that MCP server I was talking about earlier. So this is the model we're going to start from, and we're going to ask the agent to build me some visuals on this. So I know I have down here, we have some of likes and some of views. We also notice we have here, there is a flag. This is important, is current. So the is current flag allows us to know that there's a slowly changing dimension. We're grabbing the same piece of data over time. This is a, because of that data, because I know about it, I can actually ask the agent to build something around this. So first things first, we need to go to our agent, click on the settings. We need to go into the Power BI modeling MCP server, check that on, update that tool, because I want to make sure this tool is available to my agent as I talk to my model. I'll click OK. Yep, okay. Okay. My VS Code is quite buggy today. All right, did it take? Okay, it did take. Good. Awesome. All right, so I want, let me just talk to the agent here. Let me click the little microphone. I want to connect to this semantic model, the URL that I give you here, And in the semantic model, I want to provide a visual around sum of likes. When you calculate the sum of likes, you need to make sure that the flag is current from the fact metrics table is turned on true. Okay, I'll stop that. I'm going to use Shift Enter here, and I'll just give it, here is the model. Okay, so I'm going to let the agent figure out a little bit what's going on here. And what we're going to hopefully get it to do is to connect to that model and get me some data. Okay. Now, I also realized this as well. Notice here, we're routing these requests to ChatGPT 5.3 codecs. If you do something and you're not happy with the results, try using a better large language model. I'm going to change this to auto mode here and let it go. So down here, there's a setting here. Every time the agent wants to read a file, make an API call, or do something like that, there's this mode here that lets you get prompted every time you're building something. Sometimes you don't want that. Sometimes you want the agent just to go build stuff. This is like the YOLO mode. Let the agent build as much as it wants, as fast as it wants. So I'm doing this here while we're on the demo, but you can slow that down and actually look at what's going on and be built there. While this is building, I'm going to go back to the questions here. A question here. Are there visualization libraries such as Plotly, Matplotlib that can be used in the app? Yes, you can. So great question, you. This one's really useful because the framework of what we build, and you'll notice here when we start building some visuals on this page, inside this project, under the source data, where is it here? There's going to be some components that it's building. So there's an off-gate component. There's a couple language pieces you're going to tell the agent. I want you to build this visual as a component. I want you to build a bar chart visual, all these things. You want to talk in the terms of components because the agent understands this and it will build directed components for you. You can even ask it to add a stylistic page. Give me all the style properties of this page, and it will then build you a second page in the application to show you all the styles of things. So in here, you can use any open source D3.js, Plotly, Vega, Vegalite, any library you need. You can work with the agent to craft visuals using that library, which is really exciting. That's something we definitely can't do in Power BI Desktop. That's how we're pushing the edges of what we can build here. A lot of developers like building with D3.js, incredibly powerful, but also really complex and does a lot of things. So you can ask the agent to build it, and it will understand how to build those things for us. All right, let's see what it's doing here. Right here, I gave it my question. It's going to connect to my semantic model. It's running a connection operation, list my connections. It's running connection operations. It's still trying to think if it can talk to the server. Connecting. And it seems like it's getting hung up here a little bit here. Usually it's a bit faster about getting through this. Again, part of the reason of like live demos here of getting it connected to things. Thought I was stalling enough for it to give me some time here to run through the connection properties. Come on. Connect source Power BI. Yep, do it. Connect to the stuff. I'm going to stop this one more time here. Let's see if we can get it to go. Let's see if I can get this prompt again. Let me copy the prompt one more time. Copy. Let me, instead of letting it do ChatGPT 5, I'm going to just ramp it up here to a higher end model that I know has given me good results in the past. Let's try Sonnet 5, and let's give it the prompt again. Let me say here, if you want to see the model, use the Power BI modeling MCP server. Okay, I'm going to actually directly prompt it with that as well. We'll hit run. Okay, let's see if this will go a little bit quicker this time. We're almost at time. I'm not sure how far we will get through this step here. I know why. Okay. The MCP modeling server was trying to run an authentication screen. That authentication screen popped up on a different window. I had to, in my browser window, click accept. So the reason it was hanging there was because I didn't give it an approval to go talk directly to the semantic model. So here it did this. It asked me to authenticate to powerbi.com. Once I signed in, it said authentication complete and the window closed. So just be aware of that. That command in that MCP modeling server was asking me, there it goes. There, it's finding things now. Okay, now we're off to the races. So here, it's looking at the XLA endpoint, ask the questions, making good decisions. It's looking through the auth. It fetched the URL, ran the connection properties. Okay, so it's now, so the app now, the agent is now reading the Fabric YAML and the Rayfin YAML to understand what's going on there. Okay, go away. This demo 17 project has Fabric env files. Let me check. Okay, so now it's looking through the environment. It's checking the env local. So these files here inside the application. So a little bit here. This env local, these are not tracked in Git. They do not go off of my computer, but these are where the secrets and details live around how to connect to the app, how to talk to Fabric. These are special local app environments that it's using here. Okay, now it's using a search for the project. Using Rayfin, it's understanding Rayfin now. It's getting more context about our page. Okay, now it's learning about Rayfin. It's learning about our deployments. Let's see how good it is. Going through the log file, reading more things. You should have access to the Rayfin server. Let me just double check it's still attached. Is it not connected anymore? No, it is there. Power BI modeling MCP. All right. While this thing is going here, I'm going to actually pull back out. So I have a pre-baked, we're at time here. So let me show you something that's already been built. So the agent's going to work on this model. It's going to figure out some data. It's going to pull some things in. Let me show you just very briefly what the final object would look like. I believe I have another example here. Let's see here. I have another template 01. Let's see if this actually has my report. Okay. Here's another report. Again, it's not as pretty as what I built previously, but in this one here, this is a Rayfin app that I asked to build some mock data and bring up to the website. In this one, I made 3 separate pages where I asked the Rayfin project to build a chart, d3.js, and Plotly versions of this. So you can see here, if I click on these different items, the Rayfin project has made some mock data, and now each of these visuals are built in different frameworks. This is just using the standard Vega and Vega Lite plots here. And you can see that by hovering on them, and you can look at these different items. There's a little save, Vega editor is already here. These are already available to you as part of the app. Then this is d3.js visualized here. And then there's a page navigation for Plotly. So these are Plotly level visuals that I can work on as well. Anyways, that's what you can do when you build visuals. You just talk to the agent, tell it what you want. It will then work with you to kind of work through the project, and hopefully here, let's see here, it's asking me to sign into something. Okay, so it's actually asking me to sign into powerbi.com so I can see what's going on here. So let's see if it'll let me do that. Mike@carloconsultants.com. We'll see how good it is about signing me in. Okay, it's going to ask me for the full password and everything. I'll do that a little bit later. But as the agent continues to work through this, it'll then build out those visuals, and ultimately we'll land on this, which will be a report with visuals being built from our semantic models. All right. All that being said, I think we've kind of ripped around enough to build enterprise applications with Rayfin. Thank you very much for attending today. We appreciate you. Back to you.
Yeah, there's one more question there from Lucas. You want to check that out?
Sure, I'll answer that question. I have a little bit of extra time here, so we'll go over here. Out of curiosity, maybe overly detailed question, did you try example CORS prevents a client and app URL from making a request to a Fabric user-defined function? If we could have that, the app could then, while not being able to access the user data function server side, could forward to a client to the UDF serve function. Okay. The short answer to what you have there is, Lucas, great question. We can't do that right now, only for the reason of every time you talk to a Fabric user-defined function, every Fabric user-defined function requires the ability for you to have some sort of secret or key or permissions. So if you go into the distribution assets here, if you have any secrets or keys or any ways to authenticate directly to that Fabric UDF, there's not really a mechanism to have a user login directly go into the Fabric user-defined functions. So any secrets, any way to secure the call to the user-defined function is public knowledge. That's on the front end. That's not acceptable. So right now, there is no ability for a Fabric user-defined function to be safely called directly from the application. In the future, what I imagine will happen is Microsoft will eventually allow the signed-in user using that token. Remember that screen we saw when we got in? There's a little sign-in window, and the window popped up and said, hey, you're Mike, sign in. That sign-in screen will likely be used as the permissions that would let you sign into the app, which will then be also used to go to the user-defined functions. So again, I'm projecting a bit here about where I think Microsoft is going to build this. They haven't explicitly said this or said anything about that. So caveat, I'm reading between the lines here. But Lucas, great question. Stay tuned. We are in public preview of Rayfin. So if you want this, Lucas, if you need this feature, make sure you go to the ideas.fabric.com, voice this opinion. Hey, I need user-defined functions. I need .NET or Python or JavaScript or Node. Let us know in the community what you need with Rayfin so the team can take that information and funnel it back to their development team. So great question, Lucas. I love the effort of trying to get to user-defined functions. I really want them to. I want them to be available, but right now they're not currently there. Awesome. I think we've answered all the questions. This has been a great session. I hope you have found this valuable and super detailed as we go way into the weeds on building apps with agents.
Yeah, I can't get over how good that webinar was. I think a lot of people have said it as well. So thank you, Mike. Really appreciate it. So
thank you all.
On behalf of the ESPC community, we'd like to extend a big thank you again, Mike, for taking out time on today to carry this webinar. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We'll see you around. Check me out on the internet. Make sure you follow me on YouTube. We do a lot more of these videos. We have a full 7, 8, 9 video series around working with Rayfin, doing all these demos with a little bit more time. I'm not time constrained. So if you want to see more demos of what I'm building, go check me out on YouTube, Power BI Tips.
Nice one. Thanks everyone for joining. I hope you see you at the next webinar. Take care.